Comments moved so fast I could barely read them. Jump, a liar, cheater, do it. 2 million people were watching. Wind tore at my coat as I stood behind the rooftop barrier of the 50-story Meridian Tower, close enough to the edge for Julian's camera to make the danger look absolute. My husband held his phone in both hands. He was crying. At least he was making the face people use when they want strangers to believe they're crying. "Please, Maya," he said into the live stream. "Please come back from there." The comments exploded. LIR, she doesn't deserve him. Plor, she lim, so him from her. I almost laughed. Save him. That had been the story for 11 months. Julian, the devastated husband, my parents, the ashamed mother and father, me, the woman who had supposedly cheated on her husband with 3 different men in explicit videos that had spread through private groups, then public pages, then my workplace, then everywhere. The footage looked real, too real. My face, my voice, my body, my apartment, my wedding ring, my birthmark. Details nobody should have been able to fake. But they had. My mother stood 20 feet behind Julian in a designer coat, reading comments from her own phone. "Oh my God," she said, "loud enough for his stream. People are sending money." Julian glanced back. "How much?" She lowered her voice. 38,000 since we came up. My father looked at his screen. 41. Nobody tried to hide the excitement. Why would they? They thought I was finished, broken, ready to die. And they had built the perfect story around it. My father looked at his phone and turned toward the skyline. "This is what betrayal does to a family," he said to his followers. We begged Maya to get help. I looked at him. The man who had called me filth for months. The man who had locked the spare room door from the outside because he claimed I was unstable. The man who had told me every morning that the world would be cleaner without me. He saw me looking. His face changed for half a second. The performance dropped. He mouthed, "Do it." The ring checked his watch. My mother whispered, "She's dragging it out." The cruelty was so ordinary, it almost felt boring. That was what terrified me most. People imagine monsters as dramatic. Mine had breakfast together. They complained about traffic. They watched game shows. They discussed groceries. Then they discussed my death like a scheduling problem. Julian stepped closer. "Baby," the word made my stomach tighten. "You don't have to do this. His livestream audience ate it alive. He still loathes her. He's still good for her. He's still good for her. Jump, Maida." He stopped just outside the camera's clear audio range. His lips barely moved. "You're costing us viewers." I looked at him. He smiled for the audience, then whispered, "Finish it." That was the sentence I'd been waiting for. Not because I needed one more confession. I had enough. I needed timing. I looked at the viewer count. 20,107,884. Then, at the skyline, digital billboards blowed across 3 surrounding buildings, an entertainment network display, a financial news wall, a giant rotating ad above the transit plaza. Elias had asked me one question the night before. "How public do you want the truth?" I typed back, "As public as the lie." Now I reached into my coat. Julian's eyes sharpened. "What are you doing?" I took out a small remote linked to the evidence broadcast packet. Nothing magical. No movie hacker button that could conquer a city by itself. Elias had spent weeks coordinating mirrored feeds, legal emergency disclosures, press distribution, and authenticated data packages so that when I gave the signal, every platform we had lawfully lined up would publish at once. The billboards were part of a paid takeover we had booked through media intermediaries. Julian thought I had no money. That was one of his more expensive mistakes. I held the remote. My mother stopped reading comments. My father lowered his phone. Julian's smile disappeared. "Maya." I looked directly into his camera. Then I pressed the button. His screen froze. For 1 second, the image broke into blocks of color. The comments stopped. Then a black screen appeared. White text. "This broadcast contains authenticated evidence of a coordinated deepfake and insurance for Rakes, Coat and Mayton." Julian's face went white. "No." He tapped his phone. Nothing. The screen changed. "A bank transfer." Nothing. The screen changed. "A bank transfer." Then another. Payments from an account linked to Julian. Invoices to a synthetic media contractor. Project identifiers. Render dates. My name. Then the image changed again, a life insurance policy. $10 million. My forged signature. Beneficiary, Julian Merker, and contingent beneficiary, Rupert and Diane Park. My parents. Across the city, the billboard changed with the same evidence. People on neighboring rooftops lifted their phones. Traffic slowed below. My mother screamed, "Turn it off!" Julian slammed his phone against his palm. "What did you do?" I stepped away from the barrier, not toward the edge, away. The live stream camera caught it. The audience saw me move to safety. I looked at Julian. "I'm not jumping." His eyes widened. Behind him, a helicopter searchlight swept across the roof. My father spun around. Police sirens rose from the streets. I took one slow breath. "But you were going down." 11 months earlier, I still believed the worst thing that could happen in a marriage was betrayal. I was wrong. Betrayal requires reality. What Julian did was replace reality. The first video arrived at 6:14 on a Tuesday morning. I remember the time because my coffee had just finished brewing. Julian came into the kitchen holding his phone like it was something poisonous. "Maya!" I looked up. "What?" His face was pale. "Sit down." I laughed nervously. "Why? Just sit." I did. He placed the phone on the table. A video was paused. A hotel room. A woman. A man. My stomach dropped before he pressed play. The woman was me. Not similar. Not close. Me. Same face, same voice. Not close. Me. Same tiny scar under my chin. She turned toward the camera. Said something intimate. My voice. I shoved the phone away. "What the hell is that?" Julian stared at me. "You tell me." "That's not me." He laughed once. Not humor. Pain. Perfect pain. "Really?" "Yes." "Maya, that's not me. You expect me to believe someone fabricated your face, your voice, your body?" "Yes." He stood. The chair scraped back. "Who is he?" "I don't now." My hands shook. I grabbed the phone again, paused, zoomed, smored. The room looked familiar. Then I recognized it. The Brighton Hotel. I had attended a marketing conference there 6 months earlier. My stomach turned. "Julian, I stayed in that hotel for work." "I know." "No." I looked at him. "You know." His eyes changed. "Only slightly. I missed it then. Of course I know." He covered smoothly. "You told me." I replayed 3 seconds. My face looked right. The lighting, skin, movement, everything. But something felt wrong. The laugh. Mine, but not mine. A strange rhythm. I looked at Julian. "I didn't do this." He put both hands over his face. I reached for him. He stepped away. That hurt more than I expected. "I need space." "Julian, don't. Please." He looked at me. "I don't know who I'm married to." That sentence began the campaign. By lunch, my mother had seen the video. Julian sent it to her. Then my father, then my younger cousin, then his sister. He claimed he needed advice. By evening, the video had escaped family. A second video appeared 2 days later. Different man, different location, same me. Then a third. The third was worse because it used the living room of our own apartment. That was when I panicked. "Someone has footage from inside our house." Julian looked at me like I had become dangerous. "Or you made it here." I stared. "What?" "Stop lying." "I'm not." "Then explain it." "I can't." "Exactly." My mother came over that night. She slapped me. I stood in the hallway holding my cheek. Julian said nothing. Mum pointed at me. "You humiliated all of us." "It's fake." "Do you hear yourself?" "It is." Dad arrived 20 minutes later. He brought a printed screenshot. Why? I never understood why people print digital cruelty. Maybe paper makes it feel official. He threw it on the table. "You made us look like fools." "I didn't do anything." He looked at Julian. "She's still denying it?" Julian nodded. I looked between them. Something cold moved through me. "Why are you all talking like I'm not here?" Mum laughed. "Oh, now you want to be seen." The video spread. Not viral immediately. First private gossip, then a local influencer posted blurred clips with my name. A commentary account found my employer. Someone tagged the company. Someone emailed clients. Then my boss called me into a conference room. There were 2 people from HR. One lawyer, I knew before they spoke, "We're placing you on administrative leave." "Why?" "The online situation." The videos are fake. We're not making a determination. Then why am I leaving? Silent. Corporate silence. Clean. Polite. Cowardly. I lost my access badge that afternoon. 3 weeks later, I lost the job. Officially, reputational disruption affecting client trust. I had spent 6 years building that career. Gone because a machine could wear my face. Friends stopped calling. Some believed me. At first. Then more videos appeared. A voice note. Screenshots. Messages written in my style. A fake dating profile using photographs from college. Each piece made the previous piece look more believable. That was the brilliance of it. Not one perfect lie. A network of lies supporting one another. I went to police station something, one another. The detective was polite. He explained synthetic media, digital forensics, jurisdiction, evidence. We can take a report. Can you make it stop? You look tired. No. That honesty destroyed me. At home, Julian moved into the guest room. Then my parents moved in. That made no sense. I asked, why are you staying here? Mom said, to support Julian. In my house, our daughter destroyed him. I stared. I'm your daughter. She looked at me. Then act like it. My parents had always cared about appearances, luxury vacations they couldn't afford, cars financed too long, restaurants where they photographed the menu. They had recently become close to Julian because his gambling winnings had once looked like wealth. I didn't know they were actually debts. Nobody did. Not yet. For the first month, they acted like wardens disguised as family. They monitored my phone and I took my laptop for my own good. Julian changed the Wi-Fi password. Dad told neighbors I was under psychiatric care. Mum read cruel comments aloud. At breakfast, at dinner, while I tried to sleep. Listen to this one, she said one night. I was sitting on the floor of the spare room. She stood outside the doorway with her phone. She deserves to lose everything. I covered my ears. Mum laughed. People see you now. Stop. Another. Like Julian should leave her in the gutter. Please. Another. She should just disappear. My father stood behind her. He said, maybe they're right. I looked at him. He shrugged. Would solve a lot. That was the first time. Of Explicit. Not yet. The thought entered the room. I stopped eating properly. Stopped sleeping. My body felt heavy all the time. People use the word depressed like it means sad. It doesn't. Sadness moves. Depression becomes architecture, walls, ceilings, no doors. I began believing the videos. Not literally. I knew I hadn't done those things, but I started wondering whether truth mattered if nobody else could see it. Maybe identity was just consensus. Maybe I was whatever the screen said. Julian encouraged that. You need to take responsibility for something I didn't do, for what this has done, to who? Everyone. I laughed bitterly. What has it done to me? He stared. Still making yourself the victim. That sentence became another wall. My mother changed tactics. Soft voice. Hand on my shoulder. Maya, maybe you don't remember. I looked at her. What? Stress can make people do things? No. Maybe you dissociated? No. Maybe you're sick. Stop. People get sick. Stop. Stop. She stepped back, then looked toward Julian. See? Unstable. That said everything. By month 4, I stopped defending myself. That frightened no one. It pleased them. They moved me permanently into the spare room. The door locked from outside at night. Julian claimed it was because I threatened to leave. I had. Apparently leaving your own house can be reframed as danger if enough people control the paperwork. My father brought forms, power of attorney, mental health consent, temporary account controls. I refused to sign. He got angry. You can't manage anything right now. It's my money. You lost your job because of them. He smiled. Because of you. I threw the pen. He slapped me, then immediately looked toward the hallway. Julian had seen. He said nothing. That silence was permission. Something changed after that. Not rebellion. Collapse. I wrote a note. 1 page. No details. Just apologies. To no one who deserved them. I folded it. Put it under the mattress. I thought about not being alive. Not because I wanted death. Because I wanted the attack to stop. That distinction matters. Pain makes exits look like solutions. They aren't. But when every door in your mind has been painted shut, the fake exit can look real. One night, I woke thirsty. The spare room door was unlocked. Strange. I stepped into the hallway. The house was quiet. Thurlian's office light was on. The door was open. He was not inside. I almost kept walking. Then I saw an external drive connected to his computer. Folder open. Measures file open. Measures file. My entire body went cold. I stepped inside. Not because I suddenly became a hacker. I knew normal computers, MOML files. I knew my own name. That was enough. Inside the folder were subfolders: Henge, Face, Reference, Voice Noit Module, a Room Starch Model, Room Starch Palettes, Render 001, a Render quit not Ficon. I clicked one. A still image loaded. My face, separated into layers, metadata generation assets. I stopped breathing. No, I opened another folder. Voices, crypto transaction receipts, messages. A contractor using a company name I did not recognize. Julian, need higher fidelity around jawline. Another, use old conference footage with body motion. Another, she has a mark under the chin. Keep it. I touched the scar. My stomach lurched. Then I found the insurance folder. Policy, $10 million. My signature, not mine. Suicide-related payout language buried inside a broader contestability section that attorneys later told me had been misrepresented and fraudulently structured. Beneficiaries, Julian, my parents, then spreadsheets, debt, casino loans, numbers so large I thought I misunderstood. $3.22 million, $4.8 million, interest, penalties, threatening messages from criminal lenders, and my parents' names, co-signers. I sat in Julian's chair. The room became completely still. Divorce would not solve the debt. My death might. That was the logic. Ugly. Simple. I heard footsteps. My body moved before my mind did. I copied what I could to a small USB drive from the desk. No clever tricks, no code, just files. Then I unplugged it, slipped into the hallway, back to the spare room. The lock clicked 6 seconds later. Julian opened the door, back to the spare room. The lock clicked 6 seconds later. Julian opened the door. He stared at me. I lay under the blanket. Why are you awake? Couldn't sleep. He looked around, then at me. For months, I had begged him to believe me. That night, I made myself look empty. He relaxed. Go back to sleep. He closed the door. The lock turned. I waited until his footsteps disappeared, and I sat up. The suicidal victim did not die that night, but the part of me that still expected rescue from family did. The next morning, I hid the USB inside the lining of an old coat. 3 days later, I got access to a burner phone through a woman who delivered groceries. Her name was Rosa. She had noticed the locked door, noticed my parents speaking for me, noticed too much. She didn't ask questions. She handed me the cheapest prepaid device I'd ever seen. I found this in a return bin, she said. We both knew that was not true. I whispered, thank you. That phone found Elias, not on some magical criminal marketplace. Through a digital rights forum run by journalists, researchers, and cybersecurity volunteers helping victims of synthetic media abuse. He used the name Elias Reed publicly. Real enough, verified enough, paranoid enough. Our first call lasted 9 minutes. I told him my husband made deepfakes of me. Silence. Then, do you have source files? Yes. How? I found them. Can you send copies safely? I think. No. His voice was blunt. Don't think. If you're being monitored, do not improvise. I almost hung up. Then he said, we can do this through counsel. That was the first intelligent sentence anyone had said to me in months. Elias connected me with a digital rights attorney named Priya Shah. Priya arranged a secure evidence handoff. No cinematic hack, no illegal break-in. They worked from copies I already possessed and records obtained through legal process. Elias examined the synthetic media project files. He proved something I already knew. The videos were fake, but proof has layers. He showed Priya model signatures, render artifacts, voice cloning traces out, creation dates after the supposed recordings, project references linked to invoices, payments from Julian. Then he traced open source transaction paths associated with the contractor's invoices. Enough for subpoenas. Enough for police. Enough to turn my private nightmare into evidence. Then Priya found the life insurance irregularities, forged signatures, false disclosures, beneficiary changes. The policy became part of a fraud investigation. The debt came next. Julian had not just been gambling, he had been losing at illegal private tables for years. My parents had co-signed portions of the debt because they had taken some of the money. Luxury trips, a renovation, a second mortgage paid off, then reopened. A second mortgage paid off, then reopened. They weren't helping Julian. They were in business with him. One night, Elias sent me a screenshot from lawfully obtained communications. My mother to Julian. Divorce doesn't pay us. Another, she needs to look unstable. Then, if everyone thinks she's guilty, nobody will question what happens next. I stared at the message, hand shaking. Julian replied, "How far?" "Mum, far enough that she chooses it herself." I stopped breathing. The room went blurry. My mother had scripted my destruction. Not just supported it, designed it. There are moments when grief is so sharp it becomes clarity. That was mine. I called Priya. I want them arrested. They may be. Now we need a stronger case. They made the videos. Yes. They forged the policy. Yes. They are telling me to die. Documented. I hate that word, I know. What if I can't keep doing this? Priya went silent. Then said, "Then we get you out." I looked at the locked door. They'll know. Your safety matters more than the case. That sentence saved me. Because it meant I still had a choice. I could leave. Police could intervene. A shelter could take me. The case could continue without some elaborate revenge plan. I understood that. Then I made a decision. I want one more week. Priya did not romanticize it. No. Elias says the public evidence package is nearly ready. That doesn't matter if you're unsafe. I can stay with Rosa's sister during the day. She paused. I had begun slipping out during windows when my parents believed I was asleep or medicated. Not because I was a genius spy, because abusive systems get lazy when they believe you have stopped resisting. Priya said, 1 week, with a safety plan, police informed, no improvising. Agreed. We built the public disclosure legally. That mattered. Agreed. We built the public disclosure legally. That mattered. Elias hated the way journalists used the word hat for everything. Half the time, he said, people mean someone published a file. I almost smiled. He helped authenticate evidence. Priya coordinated with law enforcement. Our media consultant arranged paid digital billboard slots under embargo. A live stream platform's trust and safety team agreed to preserve and mirror the evidence package if the stream triggered the pre-arranged emergency disclosure. The plan did not require breaking into the city's systems. It required timing. My family provided the stage. I only had to convince them I had finally broken. That part was easy. I had months of practice. I stopped arguing. Elias spoke softly. Told Julian I was sorry. He became kind. That was the worst part. He brought soup, sat outside the spare room door, said, "I still care about you." I stared at the wall. Sometimes abusers become tender when they think the ending is near. Not because they love you, because control feels safest when the victim stops moving. My father returned my phone. Limited access. No banking apps. No email. But enough social media to see the hate. He wanted me to see it. My mother read donation numbers from Julian's sympathy channel. He had built an audience around being the betrayed husband. Hundreds of thousands of followers. Interviews. Videos. Streams. People donated to his legal recovery fund. The fund paid gambling interest, not legal bills. One evening I said, "I can't do this anymore." Julian looked at me. "What do you mean?" I stared at my hands. "I want it to stop." His breathing changed, not fear, interest. He moved closer. "The Maya," I whispered. "I keep thinking about the Meridian roof." He said nothing for 3 seconds. And then, "Why there? Hi." My voice shook. That was not acting. Talking about death, even as a trap, reopened places in me I hated. He touched my shoulder. "Don't say that." Then he left the room. I heard him call my mother 10 minutes later. The house became excited, quietly. Dad started asking about camera batteries. Mom asked whether Julian's account could go live to multiple platforms. He said, "If she does something I need proof, I try to stop her." Proof. Always performance. Priya had police informed before I ever went near the building. A crisis intervention team was on standby. The roof access route was monitored, and I repeated one thing until I wanted to throw the phone. You are not actually doing this. I know. Say it. I'm not going to die. Again, I'm not going to die. Good. He never used the plan to glorify the edge. He treated it like what it was. A dangerous setting we were managing carefully because my family had already decided to exploit it. The night arrived. I told Julian I was going for a walk. He followed. Of course. My parents followed him. Of course. My parents followed him. Of course. At Meridian Tower, a maintenance contact cooperating with police allowed roof access after hours. Julian thought he was lucky. He always mistook other people's planning for his luck. I stepped onto the rooftop. The city was cold and bright. The barrier line had been assessed in advance. Police were nearby. I knew exactly where the safe zone ended. Julian didn't. He saw height, drama, money. He hit go live. The audience count climbed faster than Elias predicted. 20,000, 70, 200,000, 70, 200,000. Then the clips were reposted. Influencers joined. News accounts noticed 1 million. My mother read comments. My father checked donation totals. Julian cried beautifully. I stood there and remembered every night I had actually wanted to disappear. The trap hurt because it borrowed the shape of real pain. That is the part nobody celebrated later. At 1.8 million viewers, my mother came close. She held her phone low, mimicked. Don't embarrass us again. I looked at her. She smiled for her own camera. The comeback, sweetheart, then whispered, clean up the mess you made. My throat tightened. I almost lost the plan. Not because I wanted to jump, because I wanted to scream. I wanted 2 million people to hear her real voice. Then I remembered Priya. Evidence, not rage. At 2.1 million, Julian whispered, finish it. I reached for the remote, and the city changed. Back on the rooftop, after I'd pressed the button, Julian lunged for my hand. Not to save me. For the remote. I stepped backward toward the safe zone. Don't. His live stream kept showing the evidence. The comment feed moved faster than before. What is this? Deepfake rates as movies? The parents are pilly is real. The parents are benefic is real. Call police. They were pushing her. Though my mother's face appeared on one of the billboard screens beside her own message, far enough that she chooses it herself. She screamed, "That's private!" I looked at her. That sentence told the world more than denial ever could. Julian grabbed his phone. The stream continued from the mirrored feed even after he killed his local app. He stared. Elias. I almost smiled. You know his name. His face changed. Had seen communications. Of course. I'll destroy him. No. A voice came from the stairwell. Hands where we can see them. Police emerged. Not a tactical movie army. Uniformed officers. Detectives. A crisis response supervisor. Enough. My father shouted, "This is a misunderstanding." An officer took his phone. Mum started crying. Real tears now. She's mentally ill. That line had worked for months. Not tonight. Priya stepped through the doorway behind the officers. She held a folder. No, she said. She's represented. My mother stared, then at me. You planned this? Yes. The word felt clean. Julian backed away. Yes, the word felt clean. Julian backed away. She was going to jump. No, Priya said. She wasn't. Julian looked at me. His face twisted. You lied. I actually laughed. After everything, that was his complaint. You made 300 hours of fake evidence about my life. That was different. No. I stepped toward the center of the roof. It wasn't. Detectives separated them. Julian started talking too much. He blamed my parents. Dad blamed Julian. Mum blamed Det. The people who had coordinated so carefully, they collapsed beautifully when truth removed the script. My father pointed to Julian. It was his gambling. Julian shouted, "You signed the loans," Mum screamed. "We were going to lose everything." I stood under the helicopter light. For 1 second, the entire city seemed to be watching. Then I remembered the only person who mattered, me. I looked at Priya. "But can we go?" She nodded. That was the real victory. Leaving. Not the arrests, not the billboards, not the comments changing from hatred to apology, leaving because I chose to. The digital evidence stayed online for 27 minutes before the emergency package ended. Long enough. More than long enough. By morning, the entire country knew. I did not become a hero. Not immediately. First, I became content. Again, reaction videos, news panels, apology posts, people who had called me disgusting deleted their comments. Some posted WE fail, mile. Others claimed they had always suspected the videos were fake. The internet has an incredible memory when it wants revenge, and a very little when it wants innocence. My old employer called. The CEO wanted to apologize. I let him. Then he offered my job back. No, we can discuss compensation. My attorney can. He paused. Would you ever consider returning? No. That felt better than I expected. Friends returned. Some I accepted. Friends returned. Some I accepted. One woman, Claire, had defended me publicly until the third video. Then she disappeared. She came to my temporary apartment holding flowers. I got scared. I nodded, I know. I thought if it kept happening, you thought it had to be true. She cried. I'm sorry. I believed her. I also understood that trust does not regenerate because someone feels bad. We started with coffee. That was enough. The criminal case became complicated. Deepfake fraud, identity theft, forgery, insurance fraud, coercive control, conspiracy, illegal gambling debt, cyber harassment. The prosecutors did not charge the internet. They charged people where evidence supported crimes. That mattered. Millions of ugly comments are not the same thing as coordinated criminal conduct. Some commenters had encouraged harm. Platforms suspended accounts. A small number faced investigations where threats crossed legal lines. Most simply had to live with the fact that they had joined a mob. I learned something uncomfortable. Public cruelty feels weightless when it is typed one sentence at a time. Select enough weightless things and someone can drown. Julian's defense was predictable. Addiction, pressure, manipulation by my parents. He said he never wanted me dead. The policy said otherwise. The messages said otherwise. The messages said otherwise. His own whisper on the rooftop said otherwise. Finish it. Authenticated audio. 2 million witnesses. My mother claimed she had only wanted to shock me into reality. Then prosecutors played her message far enough that she chooses it herself. My father claimed he thought the videos were real. Then financial records showed him approving payments associated with the synthetic media contractor. There are lies you can improvise. Records are less flexible. The trial lasted months. I testified for 2 days. The defense attorney showed images from the deepfakes, blurred, enough to make my skin crawl. He asked, "These resemble you closely, correct?" I looked at the jury. They were designed to. Is it possible some were real? No. Is it possible some were might? I know where my body was. He tried again. The public believed them. I looked at him. Public belief is what the crime purchased. Silence. Creolator told me that line went viral. I hated that. Then I laughed. Some things are allowed to be absurd. Lorraine and my parents were convicted on major fraud, conspiracy, coercion, and related counts. The final sentences were long, not because the internet demanded a number, because the documented conduct spanned months, multiple victims' financial schemes, forged records, and an organized attempt to make my death look self-directed. They lost a house. Accounts were frozen. Civil judgments followed. The donation money collected from the rooftop stream became part of restitution proceedings. The luxury disappeared faster than mine had. I did not celebrate the prison vans. I celebrated sleeping with an unlocked door. That was the first real luxury I bought. A small apartment, 1 bedroom, nothing impressive. The first night I stood in the hallway and stared at the lock. Then I locked it from the inside, unlocked it. Locked it again. My choice. I slept 12 hours. Before that, there was one thing I had to do without cameras. I asked Priya to arrange a visit with my parents after sentencing. Not both, just my mother. Dad had written too many letters already. I knew what he would say. Debt, pressure, Julian, bad decisions. He had spent his whole life treating responsibility like a coat he could hand to somebody else. My mother was different. She had written the script. I needed to see whether she understood that. We met in a federal visiting room divided by thick glass. She looked smaller. The grey had grown through her hair. No jewelry, no makeup. For a moment, some childish part of me wanted to remember being 8 years old, with a fever, my mother sitting beside the bed with soup. Memory is cruel because it does not erase good moments just because someone later becomes dangerous. She picked up the phone. Maya. I lifted mine. Neither of us spoke. Finally she said, "You look healthy." I almost laughed. "That's what you want to say." Her face tightened. "I don't know what you want from me." "Nothing." "Then why are you here?" That was the question. I looked at her. "Did you ever believe the videos?" She stared. "No." No hesitation. No hesitation. No confusion. Just no. I felt something inside me become very still. "Not even the first one?" "No." "Then why did you slap me?" Her eyes dropped. I was angry. At what? Silence. At me. No. Then who? She pressed her lips together. Julian was in trouble. I laughed once. That still doesn't answer the question. She looked up. We were all in trouble. There it was. All, the words she used when she meant everyone except me. You owed the casino debt. Some. You signed it. Your father did. You benefited. Her face hardened. We made mistakes. No. I leaned toward the glass. You made decisions. She flinched. I continued. You decided my reputation was cheaper than bankruptcy. Maya, you decided my mind was cheaper than selling the house. Tears came to her eyes. You don't understand how frightened we were. I stared. I understand fear. She stopped. I had spent months afraid of my own phone. Afraid of sleep. Afraid of doors locking. Afraid that maybe the world could vote me out of existence. Fear did not impress me as an excuse. She whispered. I felt you were stronger. That sentence almost made me drop the phone. Stronger. As if resilience were permission. As if surviving childhood, work, marriage, public humiliation meant she could pile more weight onto me. That's why. She started crying. I knew you would fight. You were trying to make sure I didn't. She covered her mouth. For the first time, she understood the contradiction. Maybe. I said, you didn't choose me because I was weak. Her eyes lifted. You chose me because you thought I could carry the damage long enough for you to get paid. She shook her head. No. Yes, I love you. I closed my eyes. There was the word again. Love. Bleach. I opened them. Then learn something while you're in here. She stared. Love without boundaries is just possession with better marketing. Her face collapsed. I put the phone down. She hit the glass with her palm. Maya. I stood. The guard opened the door behind me. My mother kept speaking through the phone. I could no longer hear her. That felt appropriate. Outside, Priya waited beside the vending machines. How was it? Useful. Do you forgive her? I looked at the grey institutional hallway. No. Priya nodded. Okay. No lecture. Okay. No lecture. No healing cliché. Just okay. We walked outside. The sun was painfully bright. I stood in the parking lot and realized something that would later shape Verity's shield. People often ask victims to forgive because everyone else is uncomfortable with unfinished anger. I did not need to stay angry forever. I also did not need to produce forgiveness on schedule. Truth was enough. Distance was enough. Safety was enough. That afternoon, I deleted the last shared family calendar from my phone. A tiny action. No music, no audience. It felt more final than the rooftop. Elias became my business partner 2 years later. Not because I wanted to become a hacker, because I wanted to build tools that helped people prove what was real. Our company, Verity Shield, started with synthetic media verification for law firms, domestic violence advocates, schools, and small employers. We did not promise magic. No AI detector that claimed certainty from 1 pixel. We built evidence systems, provenance authentication, secure reporting, rapid legal preservation, human review. Victims needed more than a red warning label saying POSA's Blythe. They needed a path. Prior became our general counsel. She hated startups, then wrote 60 pages of policy. Ilyu said, "That's love." She threw a binder at him. The first year was ugly. Funding meetings where investors wanted fear instead of safety. Can you make a viral consumer app? No. Can you scan every video on the internet? No. Can you guarantee detection? No. Some investors hated us. Good, we raised from people who understood the problem. By year 3, Verity Shield supported major courts and media organizations. By year 5, we ran a global response network for victims of synthetic intimate media abuse. People called me a cybersecurity CEO. Technically, yes. Emotionally, I thought of myself as the woman who had needed one person to say, "I believe the evidence." Not, "I believe you because you're sympathetic." Evidence is more durable than sympathy. I kept the rooftop remote in a drawer, not as a trophy, as a reminder. One button did not save me. 3 months of documentation did. Rosa noticing the locked door did. Elias refusing to improvise did. Pryor insisting on safety did. Police taking the threat seriously did. A platform preserving the stream did. Like journalists checking documents before reposting did. Systems can fail people. Systems can also be repaired. My parents wrote letters. Dad's came first. He blamed Julian. Then debt. Then the internet. Then me. I stopped reading halfway. Mom's was shorter. She wrote, "I thought if the world believed it, maybe you would accept what needed to happen." I stared at that sentence for a long time, then turned the page over. Nothing. No apology, no explanation, just belief as a weapon. I never wrote back. Julian wrote once. His letter began, "I loved you. I laughed so hard, Elias thought something was wrong." Love. People use that word like bleach, as if it can clean anything if poured heavily enough. I tore the letter in half, not dramatically. It was just paper. Years later, I spoke at a technology conference about synthetic media abuse. The moderator asked, "What was the hardest part?" The obvious answer was the rooftop. Wrong. The hardest part was knowing the videos were false and watching people I loved decide the screen was more trustworthy than me. The room quieted. She asked, "Do you hate the internet?" "No." "Why not?" "Because the internet didn't make my husband forge a policy." A few people shifted. "He didn't make my parents lock a door." I paused. "It amplified them." "That matters." But technology did not invent their choices. The moderator nodded. "So what should people do when they see shocking content?" I smiled. "Slow down. Not sexy. Not viral." "True. Ask who benefits from your outrage." I looked across the room. Ask what can actually be verified. Afterward, a woman waited near the stage. 30 maybe. Hand shaking. She showed me a message. Someone had threatened to publish fake intimate videos of her unless she paid. I felt the old cold move through me. "Have you paid?" "No." "Good. What do I do?" I introduced her to our legal response team, not because I personally knew every answer. Power, I learned, is not being the smartest person in every room. It's building a room full of people who know what to do. The public eventually stopped calling me the national victim. Thank God. I hated that phrase. Victim is something that happened in relation to a crime, not a career, not an identity, not a brand. I had been harmed. I had survived. I had also become a CEO, a terrible clerk, an obsessive runner, a woman who loved old detective novels, and someone who still sometimes turned off cameras during difficult conversations. Trauma did not get exclusive naming rights. One winter morning, years after the rooftop, I returned to Meridian Tower. Not the roof, the lobby. Verity Shield had at least 2 floors. Elias thought the address was funny. I almost rejected it because of memory. Then I realized I was tired of buildings having more power than I did. We opened there. On the first day, I rode the elevator to her office. Floor 42. Not 50. I had limits. The doors opened. Employee, I had limits. The doors opened. Employees moved to bright rooms. No locked spare room. No mother reading hate comments. No husband pretending concern into a camera. Just work. At noon, Priya entered my office. "There's a platform escalation." "What kind?" "High-profile deepfake campaign." Teenager. My stomach tightened. Family involved. School. I stood. "Let's go." She looked at me. "You know you have staff." "I know." "CEO." "I know." DHEO. Delegation. "I know." I grabbed my laptop. She sighed. Hopeless. Maybe. But as we walked into the response room, I saw a wall of evidence screens. Not gossip. Evidence. Timestamps. Timestamps. Original files. Chain of custody. Legal contacts. A counselor on video. A parent listening instead of shouting. A teenager being told you are not what they made. I stopped in the door at Walmart for 1 second. I was back in the spare room. Phone blowing. Comments moving. No door. Then the moment passed. I walked in. The teenager looked at the camera. Are you Maya Park? Yes. Did this happen to you? Something like it. She swallowed. How do I make everyone believe me? I thought carefully. You don't need everyone. She frowned. You need enough good people to verify the truth and protect you while the rest catch up. Her eyes filled. I continued. And you do not have to destroy yourself to prove someone else lied. That sentence mattered more than every billboard in the city, because once I had almost believed the opposite, that I needed to disappear for the lie to end. I was wrong. The lie ended because I stayed. I documented. I accepted help. I let people build a case around reality. The rooftop became famous. People remembered the billboards, the glitch, the helicopter, the arrests. I remembered something smaller, the moment after the stream changed, when the hate comments stopped. For maybe 3 seconds there was nothing, no judgment, no story, no audience deciding who I was. Just wind, my breath, my feet on concrete, and my own choice to step away from the edge. That was the part that belonged to me. Not the police, not Elias, not Blias, not Blias Eve, me. Julian had tried to turn my face into evidence against me. While my parents had tried to turn public opinion into a cage, they thought if enough people believed the lie, reality would surrender. It didn't. Reality is stubborn. It waits, in files, in transactions, in timestamps, in people who remember, in bodies that keep breathing after strangers decide they shouldn't. I once thought vindication would sound like 2 million people apologizing. It didn't. It sounded like a quiet office door unlocking from the inside. It sounded like a woman on a hotline saying, "We found the source file." It sounded like Priya saying, "We have enough." It sounded like a liar saying, "Don't improvise." It sounded like me telling a frightened teenager, "You do not have to die to prove you're telling the truth." That was enough. More than enough. And every time a screen tried to tell someone who they were, I made sure there was another screen somewhere ready to ask for proof.